All right.
Hi, Tim Nolan.
Hi, Tim. I saw you on TV the other day.
How could you not miss me? All right, so I'm gonna call the DRB meeting to order at 7 o'clock. We do not have a printed agenda to follow. I could pull it up on my phone unless you printed a copy. Did we get one agenda?
Yeah.
By mail.
Yeah.
Email,
There
but I couldn't find it.
Grab it on the computer.
My printer wasn't working, talking to my
Here it goes.
computer, my work computer. Printer wasn't working, so. Let's see if I can pull it up.
Yeah.
I mean, the agenda basically was call meeting to order,
Yeah,
check agenda. We don't seem to have minutes from 9/11. I couldn't find them.
no, I think we have that on the October
Okay,
meeting agenda.
and then it's just the hearing.
Yeah.
Hello. How are you?
Yes.
Did you see this?
Yeah, so it's.
And I'm still looking for.
I have that in my back.
It's just up, so I mean, it's just the hearing, but I don't have the language to say exactly. I could probably go to the website.
Yeah, I was gonna be there now.
Okay,
The agenda. Today.
Oh,
There you go.
great. faster than my phone. I think it's silent, my phone. Welcome.
Oh.
We've called the meeting to order, but the hearing begins at 10 after. So we don't have any meeting minutes to approve. Is there anything else the DRB wants to discuss? We do have another hearing next month. Correct.
Yes,
And a site visit.
right.
Did you schedule the site visit?
Yes.
6 o'clock? or
Everything went out. Then I had to all be warned by. There also is another subdivision. Application coming in.
And it is a flood related as well?
No. It's the Barrett estate.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like a 7 lot, you know, that rule that we have has 4 lots.
Well, and you know, I can say that I did have a little bit of email exchange with Will and Alec, was his name? No. Who came to our meeting? Aaron.
Arian.
Arian. And Will said he has done a little research and he's not sure, or was it you that said you're not, somebody said they're not sure that 4 lot subdivision is actually legal, the limit.
Okay.
So,
Is it because of state?
right, it might be that we have those in our regs, but they're not legal on state statutes,
Got it.
right? So I think we have to,
Research that.
yeah, and we could reach out to Will, maybe and ask him more, or cities and leagues, the cities and towns.
I don't know.
Do we need to get people to sign in?
Yes, I have people, yeah,
Oh, you have everybody?
I have
Okay.
people sign in.
All right, well, that's something I think that I can follow up on is the legality of.
And I didn't think you wanted to do 2 subdivisions. Like that subdivision would be the November meeting.
Okay.
I haven't got the permit application yet, but I figured we'd start it in November.
Sounds good.
And you said it's a 7 lot subdivision?
I'm still going back and forth with emails with the executor of the state discussing whether you're merging or boundary line adjustments or.
Okay,
It's, usually you should talk to the zoning administrator before. You go through the whole probate and make all these agreements before you back.
It's just like being split between heirs. Is that it? Yeah.
I think it's been fairly complicated.
You weren't here then, but at the one of the first subdivisions we saw as a new DRB was Fowler's property up there.
Yeah,
With the right of ways,
yeah,
wasn't that more than 4 lots?
yeah,
Well, then how do we do that?
yeah.
Where are we starting?
There must be some record of what, from that, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere.
well,
Not
we
really.
look in our subdivision regulations, well, we have a few more.
Well, interesting thing, the 4 lot thing is written in the zoning regulations, it's not written in the subdivision regulations, so. If you
So
don't-
we could
So
have
if you don't cross-reference. All these different regulations, you can miss something.
well, that's why we need someone like you around.
Karen wants to be done.
No. Well, all right, well, so then that's probably how it happened, that we were just reading through the subdivision regulations and it was a major subdivision. And it was like we were all brandy new with this, so.
As all of our regulations say, errors made by. Once you make an error and it gets through the appeal process, it stands, yes.
All right,
I'm gonna go out and see if there are people going to wrong doors.
no, it's really bad.
It's not a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, I thought maybe we should come around in front of.
Yeah.
I tried all 3 doors and all of them were locked. Yeah. Well, eventually it's gonna go to the town hall. The meetings are gonna go to the town hall eventually, once they can get Zoom set up over there. Because this room's too small. But there's a meeting there. Tonight there is, yes. It was interesting, I was zooming in on that. That's what Carl is. Yeah, I assume Graham must be over there. I think so. So, Carol said she wants to stop.
So this is.
It's just us, yeah. I don't know. Sir, I don't know.
Miss Adam Oceans.
Oh,
I'm
hi.
named her this.
Okay, Mary Mayline and my son. Oh, your son.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
It's 7:09, but one more minute.
7:09.
And we're gonna, anybody on Zoom that's gonna want to be a part of the hearing and speak is also gonna have to be sworn in once I start the hearing, so you all wanna. Show your faces and raise your right hand and let me hear you say I affirm when it comes that point in a minute or two.
By my clock, we're there.
All right, then, I will call the hearing for the appeal. Is it, the number, is it right here on the application somewhere? Can I speak it? Here it is, yeah.
Got it?
2024-13, it's an appeal for variance.
There we go. So I'm calling for 79 Bean Road, Plainfield, Vermont, and it was submitted by Devin Lynch. Is Devin Lynch present?
Who's the iPad?
That's somebody new joining,
Good
so.
morning. So, anyways, the first thing I'd like to do is ask everybody who is going to speak in the hearing to raise your right hand. And,
Uh-oh.
so everybody up there, if you're gonna speak, please, raise your right hand and say, you're gonna say, I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under pains and penalties of perjury. And then you just say, I do.
I
I do.
Thumbs up. All right,
I
I
do.
heard it. Thank you.
Who's I?
Thank you. So I don't know who's in the iPad put their hand up, so that's an affirm. We need to know who you are.
do.
They're on mute.
Sean,
Right.
I do.
In, okay,
Is it playing? Is it what?
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear.
Thank you.
Oh,
Sean
No.
Ward.
It's not that person.
Yeah,
I think Sean Ward is the iPad.
No. It's not that I hear on the
Okay.
upper left.
All right, yeah. Excuse me. I should pull up the chat.
I can do that.
Okay, that way we could, see if anybody's gonna need to chat. If you wanna speak, and we thought to hold the meeting, if a lot of people wanna speak at once, please raise your hand, so one person can speak at a time. And, Seth said he would keep track of the order of who's gonna speak next, so that I can hold the moderation of the meeting. What I think would be good is if, we can introduce ourselves. I'm Janice Warwick.
Meredith Evelyn.
Seth Mullendorf.
Kim Nolan,
Ryan Christensen. Adam Oakeshield.
Chris Dittmeyer.
And that's
Karen
Karen Story and, we have Judy and Sean and Sarah and an unknown person on an iPad.
Can the iPad person unmute?
Or type in the chat who you are.
Mystery. All right then.
Yeah.
All right, so we're here to consider Devin Lynch's request for a variance for 79 Bean Road, which is an existing small lot that has a camper trailer on it right now.
with Timothy Buxton, who's that?
That's on the iPad.
Hi, Timothy.
That's the way that lives in us.
No, so I think that what I'd like to say is in order to approve a variance, it has to meet 5 conditions, and we can go through those conditions and see if it can meet all 5 of those conditions, all right? That sound good? Yeah, all right, so the first one is that there are unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity, narrowness, or shallowness of lot size or shape, or exceptional topography or other physical conditions particular to that particular property, and that unnecessary hardship is due to such conditions and not the circumstances or conditions generally created by the provisions of the zoning regulations in the neighborhood or district in which the property is located. Now, it is a unique piece of property. It's got flood, what do we call it? Flood.
Special flood hazard area.
Which takes up, according to this map that was submitted, quite a bit of the land, correct?
That is correct.
So this, we don't see it in color, but you see this lighter swath right here? It can, you know, that's probably over half the property.
Yeah.
And you'll have to review inundation regulations in regards to that.
Okay, well, why don't we?
That's.
So this map here, this is an A and R atlas, so the map we're looking at was submitted by the applicant?
It was a map that was created by me.
Okay, thank you. So the applicant didn't submit this, you added this to the
I-
evidence?
Yes, I do a lot of as a zoning administrator, I've always done a lot of support for applicants.
Okay, and so what we have here is just under 80 feet from the setback of the road to that.
Approximately. I would suggest you have to have a site visit and an A with Ned, but.
I agree, I think a site visit would definitely be in order if we feel like we wanna continue to examine things further, then we have evidence here. Makes a lot of sense. My question,
You just, just to clarify one on that, so that 80 feet is from is that from the road to?
Yeah.
Okay,
the,
cause it looks like on here, they've got 50 feet, then 30 feet with the 20 foot
The 50 feet on that map, I believe, is just coming from
to
the,
the brook.
to the brook,
Okay,
which is a setback also. We have a 50-foot setback from brooks.
Okay. so it can't be in there's no setback beyond the special hazard area.
You may not build a new residence in the special flood hazard area.
Okay, but it can be directly adjacent to it.
Yes.
Okay.
so can you give us guidance about the flood regulations the inundation hazardous area regulations that where we need to go through all of this,
Nope,
okay?
just look at the table.
The activities, what's permitted,
It's on page 4,
yeah,
summary table, development review and hazard area.
yeah,
New structures, number 1, special flood hazard area is not allowed.
right, you said we need to review these,
Right, but I mean, that's the easiest one, look, you can't do it. Right.
Structures are prohibited.
Yes.
and the proposal we have is outside of that. But we don't know that,
For sure.
This, yeah,
right, so one of the things I was thinking that would be wise is to have a engineered survey of the property if, in order to determine the setbacks, I mean, we could go out there with tape measures.
I mean, is there a clear designation of the special hazard area like on the property that we could even reference this?
No, it's
So-
it's mostly the map that's created and. I do get, the zoning administrator can go out and decide.
Okay.
I didn't know if there was like coordinates on that or not.
No,
It's
I mean,
pretty, yeah,
this
right.
is where Ned Swanberg from. The agency of natural resources, the floodplain manager is the most helpful and knowledgeable. And that, in fact, probably. The application will need to be reviewed by him anyways.
Mhm.
To ensure that it's outside.
The application. This application.
Yeah, I mean, once we get through.
So just so I'm clear, so the proposed structure is within the flood area or not within?
Have you?
We don't.
So-
We don't,
That's the
it
question.
has not been determined, that's what we're saying.
Here's another way of asking me, would it be conceivable for this structure to be outside of the flood?
The former mobile home was outside,
But that was a mobile home.
right, the former mobile home, right. I'm just saying, like, if you got an idea of where the former mobile home was, it was outside.
So it was not within.
Here, if you wanna look at
It's
this,
not in an allowed area.
Yes,
if you wanna
And it
look,
seems like it's impossible to meet that 50-foot setback from the road and be outside of the special hazard area, which is why I would need a variance.
right,
And
You wanna look
why
at this
we need
map.
an engineered survey, so we can actually determine these things.
the current mobile home is also outside, the current RV is outside the special flood district.
But it's much smaller.
Right.
right, and the proposal for the dwelling, he's.
40 feet by
20
20
feet.
feet, 40 feet. Along
And that's-
along the way of the property, 20 feet.
And a mobile home is usually what?
You've got
Well,
stuff
like
over
Stephanie-
there, it's-
14 by 7.
sketch. Oh,
Right.
yeah, let's see how that one.
We all
okay.
have.
So you can see that's at the edge there.
This was submitted with the application,
Yes, yes.
although let's see, it's out of 20. Change. Oh, just-
So if an engineer needs to go out there, who pays for that?
The property owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What
sorry,
did you want to?
No.
I was gonna note, like, there are many things about it, that there's no measurement, for example, here.
Right.
Between this corner and the
Right,
other.
so we can't consider this map as something to make
Base-
our
Base your decision. on.
decision on.
Yeah.
So, to move forward with this, it doesn't look like our applicant is present with us. So, I think we have to determine how we wanna move forward without any discussion from him.
Right.
So definitely a survey would be something I feel our board would
Yes,
want.
And that's if there's a possibility that the application could be granted. There might be other reasons that it could be denied
Right,
today.
right,
Okay.
Correct.
Today.
That's what-
You know,
yes.
and we'll open this up, you know, to everyone's comments and things that we could consider that we haven't covered. already.
yeah, well, the other thing that I'd like to do if we're going to continue this hearing is also bring in the state wastewater. Do I call him inspector or
Like, what is Ryan McCall's?
title?
Enforcement officer.
I'd like him to come in for testimony too. I'd like to bring him before us at this hearing, because, based on the specific situation, I feel like, we have been told by the previous tent owner, Melanie, that she had this system pumped and that it's functioning, but we've never seen any proof of that, so in order to grant the permit, we would have to have a septic system that would be pumped.
We do have Fred Fowler's pumped it in 2000.
You have a receipt from that?
I have from Fred Fowler's from when Melanie owned it.
Okay.
From 2020, that he said that it appeared to be working.
That would be Ed Fell,
And,
not Fred.
yeah, sorry, probably Fred put it in.
Yeah.
Right, all right.
Karen, I'm still having trouble hearing you. Thank you.
This is really important for me to wear a mask though.
I understand it, but maybe you can speak up a bit.
Okay,
Sure.
well, I can yell.
Well, we feel like we can't determine number one,
Right.
correct?
Yes, yeah,
So we know what we wanna do, we would ask the applicant in under those situations to get a survey, an engineered
Yeah.
survey. So do we have anything, yeah, do you wanna speak?
and then folks could just say their names, it's just being recorded.
Adam Oakshire. And going through these 5 factors, it's my understanding, it's the responsibility of the applicant to prove each of these 5,
Yes.
and not just kind of an overall sense among the 5, but each of the 5 has to be proven affirmatively by the applicant. In other words, it's the burden is on the applicant. And it's the burden applies today. The applicant needs to show that today. And my belief is if the applicant can't show any of these factors today, there is no grounds to grant the application, and you would have grounds to deny it right now. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. So shall we move on to
Yes.
other, or you
Yeah,
have something else to say?
no,
I mean, the applicant isn't here to speak to this or to bring proof to it today, so,
I mean, based on what we're talking about. At the very least, we're talking about, we would need a continuation. So in order to get that information,
right, and but he's not here to speak to it,
yes,
so it feels kind of like what you're saying, he needs to be here.
Yeah.
To submit this information, or at least to say that they would continue, you know, they would do the work to bring that forward to a continuance hearing.
Right.
In order to move forward on that.
Has the applicant seen this?
It is in our zoning regs right here, and I did notice that in his application that he did write in like. So he must have looked at the zoning regs, because in his application, he hand wrote appeal paragraph one, you know, so he was,
Okay,
so
those
I
are
can't
these.
speak for him, but it's
Yeah.
obviously he's did refer to the zoning
Okay.
regs when he applied for the variance.
Also note that the notice that adjacent landowners received from the applicant.
Yes.
Referred to these statutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Oh, that
you
was
don't,
one
you
thing,
don't know.
that was another thing, we need proof that all the,
He did send it.
he did send it, you have,
I proved it.
okay,
We
great.
didn't have the notice period, although we are still here, just pointing that.
Did it not get you?
No, I think it was 15 days.
But he had to send it out on the night, and he did send them, I could look to see who he sent it to, but he did send it out on the night.
Well, I didn't save the envelope. I don't mind. It's-
Just, we're here because
You knew it
we
was
were
happening.
notified by him that it's a meeting here
Yeah,
tonight,
mine
so
was
here we
the
go.
ninth.
What does it say?
Mine was the ninth that it got sent out.
Okay.
Didn't get it till much later, because I had to go to the post office and sign something.
Yeah.
Right, but at least that there was that due diligence on his part, right? Okay, so, do you feel like you want to move forward with?
Yes.
Okay. So number two is that because of the physical circumstances or conditions, that there's no possibility that the property can be developed in strict conformity to the provisions of the zoning regulations. And that the authorization of a variance is therefore necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property.
I mean, that would apply.
I agree.
Well, if I may, I think it is true that it can't be developed in conformity with existing zoning. But I don't know about that last part, the authorization of a variance is necessary to enable the reasonable use of the property. I think that's on applicant to show that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So we still have a big vacant advocacy here.
Can I-
Yeah, right.
I would just, in speaking to the reasonable use of the property. We tried to buy this property, but it was made very clear to us what we could and couldn't do from the town. We didn't buy it for that reason, because it would be unreasonable to think that we could do what's being requested right now.
Wait, say that again, please?
This property is non-developable.
Right.
You can't build this home here, it's a problematic property. We all, the town cleaned this property up. Used a lot of taxpayer dollars to do so, the neighborhood cleaned up this property. We then tried to buy it to make sure the situation that we've been in.
You?
We personally, other people as
Okay.
well, but it was made very clear to us by the town what could and couldn't happen on this property. And given that, given the zoning rules, given the understanding that the town could enforce its zoning rules, we didn't buy it, and now here we are again contemplating the very use that we were told couldn't happen there.
Right.
So I would not, I look at this and I say, this is pretty clear, this is not a reasonable use of that property.
Because I'm sure, and this is Kim Nolan, I'm sure Sean and Michael would attest to, they wanted to build a woodworking shop on there, and they were told they could not build anything on that structure. Or on that property, excuse me.
No.
Correct, Sean and Michael?
No, but we did look into see what you could actually do on the land. And when I was talking to the guy who owned it, he was very much a jerk. And he said first he said 14,000. And then I said, well, it's not, well, 16,000, 18,000 while he was talking to me. Just kept going up 2 grand. And I just stopped talking and walked away.
That was M's RV, Marcel.
Yes,
Well,
that's after the RV got taken out and he was storing tires there. After I think it was after the trailer was gone and the place was empty, but he came over with like stacks of tires and just put them against the sidewall there. 12 or 14 of them. Because he was told he couldn't put a trailer back on there to like rent it. And I wasn't going to do anything with it other than own the land right up to the end. I mean, if it was only going to go up $60 a year in my tax, it would just keep it clear. Nothing beyond there. But like I said, we couldn't end up buying it because the guy who was selling it didn't want to sell it to us.
Right. Sounds like he didn't want to sell to any of you, and that's wrong.
right
Nobody
there
the
in
town
that
of
area.
Plainfield did. Right,
Anybody in that area right there. But to him. He didn't want to sell it to
That was
anybody right there.
once we moved in at 20, right? When did you try? We cleaned it out in what, 2009? When?
Karen,
It's all-
The town, put in the town records, to the guy who owned it, which was Baker.
Yes.
And they, in 2014. So there is a record in the town that, they were going to remove the abandoned, trailer, and that was in 2014. And so that was when I think the mobile home that was there was moved,
It was destroyed,
destroyed,
brought
whatever,
in an excavator
yeah.
and destroyed it.
He did, the owner?
No, the
the
town.
did it, because it
Town
was,
paid $3,500 to clean it up, along with volunteers.
right, yes, thank you.
Number 3,
That unnecessary hardship has not been created by the applicant.
but
not sure what that means.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not entirely sure what that means. I know there's a lot of issues around this property. And I don't know what unnecessary hardship exactly means.
Can somebody
Okay.
explain
It
it?
actually, it's also used in one. Particular to that unnecessary hardship is due to such conditions.
So that the conditions involving the move were not created by the appellant.
Were
That's
not
my-
created by the.
That's my
appellant.
guess, so,
Oh,
like, they didn't put in the special, they didn't cause the conditions for it needing the variance, which.
Right. Right, that's what it means.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
which I don't think holds on this one.
what's it mean again?
I think it said that the conditions for needing the variance were not caused by the person requesting the variance, so they didn't say, they didn't do something like put a structure, Karen, maybe you can explain.
So basically, when people ask for variance, my approach with them is, you can't put a house over here and not meet the setback regulations because you want a better view. So that's when you you need a variance because you wanna move your house over. And so you want to set back for 25 feet when you can clearly put the house at 50, 50, 50, 50. You know, like, so that's that they sort of created their own.
Problem.
Problem.
For a variance.
Right, they're needing for a variance, so anybody that comes in and says, I wanna put my house over here because the view's better, or like, it's just.
That's
But
not,
there's a place that they could, there's a place they could put the house or the whatever, so that's how I've been treating it when I talk to people about whether to even come for a variance, like, sorry, you can't do it for better view.
Okay.
It was already, this is Adam Oakshield, it was already a small narrow. lot.
Yeah.
You know, that he didn't subdivide it and make it tiny, it was there already.
right,
On,
that the variance is authorized, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or the district in which the property is located substantially or permanently impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property, reduce access to renewable energy resources, nor be detrimental to the public welfare. That one seems to have conditions that relate to the neighborhood.
yeah,
And what we have here is a situation
That's
Where-
detrimental.
to the neighborhood. It has been for a long time, it seems like.
I agree, thank you.
you're just moving ahead, I would also like to say, on number 5, I mean, this, if the variance authorized will represent the minimum variance that will afford relief and represent the least deviation possible from the bylaw and from the plan. I do not feel like we have the information that we need for that, because we don't, this map that we have is. It's really hard to tell if
Right.
the variance that is being asked for is appropriate or not.
Right, and as Adam said, the applicant isn't here to negotiate with us in good faith to come forward with any of the things that we would need to consider as well. So I don't.
I mean, and I would be, you know, we've had things before where a variance has been requested, and sometimes there's been questions from neighbors, and what the approach we usually take is neighbors should work it out. If they can work it out, great, come back, get me here again, it all, you know, we can move forward if there are no major or unreasonable things left that are of conflict. I am actually curious if any of the neighbors that are here are in favor of the variance that's
No,
being proposed here.
Kim Nolan, no, I'm not in favor.
John Ward,
not in
no,
favor.
we are not in favor. No,
Judy Cyprian is
That's
not
the
in
general
favor.
sense that
No. I'm not in favor.
Terracotta, not in favor.
Not in favor.
Not in favor.
it's helpful to know, because I think that, I mean, it makes it more clear cut.
If I could go back to factor number 4, just very quickly, that's the essential character of the neighborhood and all that. I recall seeing somewhere that the applicant wanted to build this.
Piers.
Elevated on piers,
Yeah.
6 feet. That is not consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And it's particularly a sensitive issue now insofar as it's in the floodplain or near the floodplain, which is a bigger issue for the town as a whole. Not to mention, you know, the Great Brook and the tributaries of the Great Brook, which this leads right into Great Brook. So I think that factor strongly opposes the applicant's request.
And this is Kim Nolan, I have one question though, it is in the town that this is a seasonal lot, correct?
No.
I thought so, we've always gone around that this is a seasonal lot.
It can be used seasonally.
Right, with a trailer and RV, it can be used season.
It's not.
If there's an RV in the less than half the year.
So any property can be, my understanding, can be a camp on piece of land, which is no more than 90 days. And
180.
180 days?
Yeah,
It's
so
180
6
days.
months.
Oh, it's half a year, that's
Yes.
it. And then there's other stipulations
Yeah.
like water and sewer.
So even though there's that, okay, a camper, which is on it now, is only supposed to be there for 6 months where it stays year round, and it's for 4 years. He can build a permanent structure on that.
It's not
That
a.
applies.
Yeah.
It complies with zoning.
With the zoning and
Right.
the
If it
setbacks.
complies.
So
If
then
it
the
complies.
180-day thing,
Which is a big if.
you're right, goes out the window.
Yeah, Karen,
That's right.
It's about residency and residencies, like the camper can be parked there. But you can't use it more than 180 days. So you can park something on an empty lot, but you can only,
occupy at a camp,
as for
some
180 days.
residency.
And that's like tents, yurts, RVs.
So that's not good.
Somebody else is trying.
There's a hand.
These are not, someone's called in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that might be the person that was on the.
That's
Side.
Tim Burton maybe, Buxton, Tim Buxton now calling in, who's that?
It's muted, so.
88992 phone number. Can you unmute?
Somebody's just listening.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not able to unmute, then they,
Or identify?
yeah,
that?
I mean, it's honestly fine for people to listen in, but they will not be able to contribute on the record.
Yeah, right.
Don't
Be able
identify
to
themselves.
prepare
Oh,
minutes.
yes.
Hello?
Yes, we
Hello?
can hear you.
Oh, this is Devin Lynch. I was trying to get in, but I couldn't get into the site because I couldn't figure out the password part or whatever to the meeting. So I finally got it.
Well, we're glad you made it. We've been reviewing the conditions for the variance. This is Janice, I'm
Okay.
the chair of the development review board. And there's some conditions that you would have to meet for this variance, and one of them is we would need to have that property, you would have to have that property surveyed. We'd need to be able to see the specific setbacks from all of the places by an engineer in order to make that to even consider what you're asking of us, one of the conditions.
Yeah.
Needs, that would have to be met.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to speak to them?
Does he need to be sworn in?
Oh, yes, Devin, we need to swear you in, so, you're gonna affirm what I say, okay? Which is, I hereby affirm that the evidence I give, cause and condition under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, under pains and penalty of perjury. Yeah, say I do, or I affirm.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay. So here we are.
Here we are. Do you have anything you wanna add, Devin?
No, that's, like I said, I just got in, so I don't know what you guys were talking about before or anything, but. So I just, have to find an engineer to survey what I am trying to have done here, you're saying?
Yeah, it's not clear to us based off of the map of the, what is that? I always get the special hazard area. And then the map that you have, the site plan, it's just not clear to us where that boundary is. I know you drew into 50 feet from the brook there, but it's very unclear to us. You know, the property can't, no part of the proposed structure can be within the special hazard area, so.
Yeah,
we
it actually on that, it's not actually in that area. The only part that I couldn't meet was not being 50 feet from the driveway. That was the only part I couldn't meet.
Yeah, it's very difficult for us to know that without an actual survey being done of the property. So we need to know accurately like what the actual distances are there on a surveyed map in order to make a determination.
Oh, okay. So you just want it to be from someone else instead of myself doing the measurements and everything. Okay, well I can call someone to do that right off.
There are other conditions, they have to meet, you have 5 conditions in the variance, that need to be met. And so that's one of them, we would need to understand, and we would need a site visit as well to see that property, to see meets, the conditions of the variance.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
with-
I had tried to set up an appointment, and I guess the zoning administrator said she decided she didn't need to do that. So
Okay, there's other items, conditions, and one of them that we were just discussing before you got on is that the building, the proposed building, home, residence isn't detrimental to the neighborhood or the public welfare, and we have your neighbors here who all feel that a permanent home on that lot is not necessarily the best thing for the neighborhood, that putting a house in right along a floodplain, especially with high waters and flooding that is happening to our town every year now, and a house up on piers These were concerns we heard from your neighbors, so I'm repeating back what we've heard as evidence of that, condition and how your proposal may or may not meet that. So, anybody else want to
Okay.
speak to that?
Now that's being in the floodplain, cause like I said, it's not actually in the floodplain area.
We don't know that because we don't have a survey
Right, the
to.
survey. Yep, which I'm gonna do that, okay, so what else? That's it?
No, there was a question about the wastewater issue.
Yes,
and-
I actually had, the septic tank pumped and inspected by, oh, they had just barely bought the company. They're out of Middlesex, but I can get that for you. Yeah, I had them inspect it. It does leach out to the leach field. There is a tank, which I can get you the pictures and in that letter too, so.
Yeah, I'll just, we were also discussing this, I'll just say, you know, in general, when we've had variances. You know, we really encourage when there are conflicts between neighbors to try to work out any differences there.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a case where there haven't been adjustments or at least some compromise made between neighbors for an approval, so I do.
Yep.
I know there's a number of neighbors here that have raised some concerns about the property, and you know, that's one consideration that is going into play to our final decision on the DRB is, you know, is this something that the neighbors don't have strong objections to in order to approve a variance. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of that and your neighbors are aware of that. So that, you know, if there are conversations that need to happen to try to move things forward, encourage those to happen. Yes.
As a property owner down the brook from where this property is, I'm very concerned about the septic. Just somebody pumping it out and saying, yeah, it looks good. That's not what most people have to go through when they're building. They have to have someone from the state come in and look at it, and I don't know how to test it, but
I
they-
did have Ryan McCall come from the state of Vermont. So
Oh.
I could probably have, he's an enforcement officer. He actually came and looked at the septic himself, and I sent him the pictures and everything also.
Who did, say it again, who did you have come?
Ryan McCall.
Ryan McCall, he's an enforcement officer. He was also who I had to speak with when I had to clean up all the trash my mother had here and all that.
It'd be good to have his testimony as a part of the evidence of this
Yes.
hearing.
Okay,
So we can call him in to come and speak to us if we continue this hearing.
yep, Ryan McCall, yep.
Yeah, Karen.
Karen,
So this property does have a notice of alleged violation that was written in 2021. That has not been resolved, so Ryan McCall would have to release that notice of violation. Also, if it was to have, like, this is where it gets really hard, is like, if it's clean slate, which means it's pre-existing before 2000 and what, January 2007.
Oh.
And it's clean slate, you could only have the same number of bedrooms that the original septic system, so I don't know how many bedrooms were in the
mobile home.
mobile home.
I think it was a 2-bedroom, if I remember correctly.
So this plan could only be a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah, I thought that's what I put on, it was 2-bedroom.
But the other question that's up is whether or not it was abandoned for is it 5 years?
5 years,
Yes,
right,
more than
what I
5
And
years.
it's based on the documentation that was filed in the town, that they claim that in 2014 it had already been abandoned for 7 years, the mobile home.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that fits in with Ryan McCall, like how, so there's this whole piece. Now, the interesting thing about this is you can grant a zoning permit before there's a wastewater permit, but you can't do the project until you have the wastewater permit. So we're kind of doing the part and course, but it's important that we understand that there's,
Is that a state statute?
but, yeah, it's in our town statute.
But is it a state statute?
Yeah, I'm sure it says something.
So that you can grant it with conditions. And the conditions have to be met before you could actually build.
Yeah, that's correct. In accordance with 24 VSA 44-14-13, no construction under a zoning permit may begin until a wastewater and potable water supply permit is issued under 10 VSA 64. So I'm just saying that's kind of a weird thing where you, but definitely the size of the house, if it was to get clean slate, could only be a 2-bedroom.
Is that what you're proposing?
That's what it said.
Mine is just 4-bedroom.
Wow,
Right.
it says 4?
Yeah.
Oh, so that wouldn't be possible.
Right.
Was it 20
Yeah, I
minutes
must
for
have, I must have messed up with that. It was supposed to be a 2-bedroom with, 1 bath.
I'm on kitchen.
It's really hard to read the numbers for us.
Yeah,
Chris Dittmeyer, does Ryan McCall, is that his name? Does he know about the abandonment for more than 5 years?
Yes, he does.
Right, he
He
does,
does. We
but
got
he
him up
doesn't
to
have
date.
the evidence, right?
Okay,
He doesn't have the.
He's working on the
well, the
evidence.
town would have it, and we have photographs that somebody
Right.
took, Mary took.
Right,
And,
and Ryan, and we forwarded them on to him,
okay.
and Ryan has
okay,
since talked to him.
Okay,
Is the applicant aware of that abandonment period? Mr. Lynch?
I'm not sure about any abandonment thing. I haven't heard,
Right.
I guess we were talking about that.
I think we really have to have Ryan McCall come and have a conversation with him. Because there are all sorts of things up in the air for all the reasons you just talked about, Karen.
Okay, yeah, I did. I had him here. He's actually done a couple site visits, and he's came and spoken with me, and gave me numbers to a couple grants and stuff, but he didn't talk to me about anything about abandonment or anything like that. So
I feel that under, because of this piece of property has liens on it. It's very complicated situation, Devin. There was the abandonment of the old trailer, there was the town cleaning up that site. And then
Yeah.
your mother purchasing the property and living on it beyond its permittable time, and it's in litigation, and none of that actually do we have the authority to look at, but it's hard. When all these conditions have to be met, and one of them is, would this be detrimental to the welfare of our community? And I
Yeah.
have seen a lot of strife in our community because of the occupancy of this property. And I know
I
your mother
understand
owned
that.
it, and
And my
you are
brother
now
was
occupying it.
here. Yeah, my brother was here, then my mother, and then her boyfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we all wanna have a piece of land to live on, and I respect that. And think,
Yeah.
and what we need to also respect here, that piece of property, has has complicated history and the neighbors don't want to have it being occupied so close to the river that they're concerned about the septic system, and I feel like that has to be cleared up before we could grant a variance, a building permit. And that needs to be really clear, and the boundaries need to be really clear, and I feel very strongly about that.
And I have concern ownership. I
And then about
understand,
ownership, the
uh,
judge is actually granting us the property. We've already spoken to the judge and everything. He's gonna actually just grant that into our names. We don't actually have to go to probate for the property. He's gonna just grant it to us. We do have to do probate so we can close our bank accounts and all that stuff, but we have already
We would
spoken to the
prove-
judge, everything.
proof
so.
of that in order to proceed as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
I understand that response, but.
He said that the judge said that they was gonna grant him the proper ownership of the property, and that they were gonna close out the probate. That's what you said, Devin, is that what you said? The judge is
Yeah,
granting
well,
you the ownership?
yeah, he's granting us the property and then he's doing the probate for her car
And then so-
and
So
her bank account.
that's very unsettled too. I feel like a variance, all the conditions have to be met for a variance, and there's so many things unsettled about this property right now that I cannot in good faith grant a variance based on so many conditions that aren't met to meet the zoning regulations, even with a variance, that all of us as neighbors and residents of this playing field need to live by, all of us together. That's why we've created them, as a way to live together. And this piece of property would need an exception to live on it. So in order for that exception to be granted, it has to work with everybody. It has to work for everybody. It has to work in all of the ways that it can work. And that's where we need more information before we can move forward with accepting.
Yeah, if I knew
offering
that, I would have had. If I knew that, I would have had Ryan actually give me a testimony of his. I would have had all the paperwork you asked for if I knew this ahead of time. But
Okay. We have a couple people who want to speak.
And Steele was up first.
I didn't either. Adam, or
Adam Oakshire. Yeah, I'll note that the application itself says that the applicant is not the owner of the property, so that's acknowledged in the application itself. And I think the board is understanding that is an obstacle, and it's admitted by the applicant. Here, I'll also note that anybody saying what the judge has indicated is probably not relevant beyond what a judge is actually ordered.
Yes.
Or written, signed a written order or said in open court, and I'm not aware of any record of any of that.
right. Thank you.
Ryan Christensen, I just want to point out a clarifier here. Ryan McCall is not part of permitting or septic inspections. That's not what he does for the state of Vermont. What Ryan McCall does is enforce the rules and checks up on when rules are violated. So Ryan McCall's visits are because the property has issues, like the uninspected and unpermitted septic. So it's just been too long in that septic to use that septic. So I think it's back to square one on that septic system. You know, in the process there, for anybody building a home or putting in a septic, is you first hire an engineer. The engineer designs the septic, and then the septic design goes to the state of Vermont, and then it's issued a permit. It's a very long, fairly costly process. Ryan McCall's role has nothing to do with that. He's just there when we're misusing septics. So the temporary camper that's there right now shouldn't be connected. That's one of the zoning violations that's still in effect right now. So there's actually a daily fine on that, is my understanding, maybe
From the state?
from the town. Because it shouldn't be connected to the septic, it's supposed to be pumped from a tank. So the pumping request from the town has nothing to do with the buried tank. That camper should not touch that buried tank. That's an old abandoned tank. That's not permanent. So what's happening right now is we've got a camper pumping into a tank that needs to be disconnected right away. And what we need to do is start the process to get a valid septic tank working, or use the camper lane, a temporary camper supposed to be intended, and have that pumped on a regular basis, and those receipts, I believe, need to be proven to the town.
Right, and I know that I worked with your mother, Melanie, trying to put her in touch with the people within the department, the state department that would grant an application, would begin that application process for a septic tank.
Oh,
That means somebody
okay,
has to
well,
come, like,
okay, well, I didn't
so somebody
get
has
that
to, you have to,
information.
right, so you would need to get an engineer to build plans, make plans for a septic system on that site.
If it's permanent.
And then and they would have to say, yes, this site can hold that, and then it'd have to get a permit from the state in order to build on the property. You wouldn't be able to use the existing system unless it was permitted by the state. And the
Okay.
state, there's a violation from the state, so that's where moving forward, you would need to get a engineer, just to, as like a survey of the property, you know, the boundaries, we need a licensed engineer to design a wastewater system for a home there. So that's another thing that would be really required.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, well, I was just told to get the tank pumped and inspected by them and see if it was a functioning tank, and that's what I did, so.
Understand.
So the trailer is currently being pumped into the septic system?
No,
Yeah,
it has,
they were
it has
told
a
there-
holding, the camper's got its
Just-
own holding tank.
So it's a septic tank and a leach field that his trailer is connected to. And it was abandoned for 7 years or
Over
more.
that or more.
That was a little, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Devin, I'm sorry, Brian Christensen, your neighbor here. Are you currently
Yep.
connected to the septic tank, or are you going to the holding
No,
tank? in the-
I dug the tank up and I had it pumped out so I could see, they said they wanted pictures to see the inside of the tank and all that, so that's what I did. Right now, it has a holding tank in the camper that actually holds it, and then he pumps that and the tank. I
It's-
had to
But I
take
thought
the
you-
tank, pump my
I just-
tank and the other tank so we could get the pictures.
I thought I heard you say that you could see that the leach field was working.
No, I
That's
didn't
what
say, I said you could see that it leaches out from inside the tank. You can see the line goes out. That's what Ryan told me to get pictures of, so that's what I did.
Okay,
Would it be like we're ready to,
Make a motion.
yeah, and move for, there's a number of things that needs to be gathered here in order for us to even consider approving something. I don't feel like I would outright deny it right now, but I would need a continuation until all of this information is gathered and is available for us
Yeah.
to consider. So I would move for a continuation.
and I would second that motion.
And do we wanna set a date, because it will take some, we can, Karen, what kind of parameters the continuance, we would need to set a date, is my understanding. We have to have a date, we just can't like say, oh, we'll continue this with no date. And it's gonna take Devin some time to, Devin, would you like to suggest a top, like how long you think it would take you to get an engineer out there to survey the property?
I'm hoping I
and
can
then
find
begin
someone.
your,
I'm hoping I can get someone out here within the next week or two. I'm gonna contact someone and start
But I
doing
mean-
a site plan as well. So
Would
you
it
guys
be
can see
reasonable
it
to
all
consider-
drawn up.
November, I think probably October's,
November meeting,
the-
that's one thing.
yeah. So
okay,
it's-
Which is,
Devin, we're gonna, we've got a motion to continue our hearing, so you can gather information to our November meeting.
Which
Okay.
I'm trying to find it.
And as we're thinking about that, my sense of the survey of the property, if that's going to be requested, should have, at the minimum, it should show the boundaries of the property,
Yes,
should show the neighboring properties,
yes,
should show where the proposed building is
yes,
exactly, including dimensions, should show setbacks from each direction, to
Yes.
each direction.
from each property boundary
Yes,
And
and
the
should
road.
show the flood zone.
and the flood zone,
The
Yes.
hazard area, yep.
yes.
And where septic,
And where the
And where the
septic,
septic.
and where a proposed septic tank would be, so that would be a septic engineer. Maybe
Yep.
the same person who does. the
Site plan,
survey.
yep.
Something like,
Can the new septic, is that allowed in the flood zone?
no, septic tank, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
I
that you can
doubt
look.
That same page.
I would think that that wouldn't, I mean.
Is there a setback for the septic from the flood zone?
I would assume so from the flood hazard area.
Replacement water supply or septic system
Is a condition.
is conditional.
Which means what?
That means we'd have, it's,
They'd have to get.
We'd have to-
give them a variance.
Yeah.
You have to go through the conditional. It would I mean, obviously, an engineer like would design it, would design that in mind. I mean. So it is conditional. And I don't, so, yeah.
So I think you wanna be able to meet those requirements of zoning regulations in order to be able to move forward with building there, okay?
Yep,
And an
now,
engineer is needed.
okay, yep.
I would also think, can you pull up the permit application?
Yep.
If it does say 4 bedroom.
That needs to be adjusted,
Yeah,
right,
that
so
needs
it's
to be
good, a
adjusted.
2 bedroom.
Yep,
Because as of now, it's not permittable.
right now you have on your permit 4 bedrooms. So you might wanna come back in and redo your permit application, Devin.
Yep, no, I
Okay.
will, cause I don't know why I
So-
would've wrote 4 bedrooms, but,
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, I
Okay,
understand.
so,
Shall we vote?
Yeah, all in favor of continuance for November 13th, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, there we go.
it was November what date?
November 13th.
13th. At what time?
All right, then we'll stay in touch with Karen, the zoning administrator, on your progress, okay?
Yes, I will. Was it at 7:10
Thank you.
again on the 13th, or?
The time would probably be 7:10 again. Unless we have another hearing as well.
We may, if we have something,
I don't know,
Put it
yes,
first,
put
this first,
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
7:10.
unless you have a conflict with that time, Devin, and we would. We would still have it that same day, but we could move it to a second order of business if you've got a reason that you couldn't attend.
No, that's fine. It's the same time, on the 13th,
All
it's fine.
right,
Okay,
all right,
Okay.
thanks,
Great.
thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
so,
Good night.
well, I guess we. Is there anything else, or should we have a motion to
I
adjourn?
can't move to
I
adjourn.
don't think there's anything else,
Yeah.
so motion to adjourn, I'll take it, a
A
second,
second.
all in favor,
Aye.
all right.
Thank you, everyone, we appreciate all the
Thank you
input today.
for all your work. I'm going to stop the recording.
Thank you.
What days
Thank
are
Mullen.